In today's broadcast, Trump's 11th peace deal, CDC shooter targeting the vaccine, and Newsom's Texas political theater. 11 peace deals in 6 months. Trump just did it again. A CDC shooter is dead after targeting the agency over the COVID vaccine. And Gavin Newsom is in Texas turning politics into a campaign stunt. You know what I need you to do, people. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and turn that bell on so you don't miss our next drop. Let's get into it. Roll it.
Hurry up.
It's a long time, 35 years. They fought, and now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. But it's a big, beautiful honor to welcome everyone to the White House for this very historic peace summit between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's really a great thrill for me. I love seeing good people get together, and that's what you have. You have two great leaders. I want to congratulate these two visionary people, Prime Minister Pashinyan and President Aliyev, for coming to Washington to sign this momentous joint declaration. It's a tremendously important document, and it's been a long time in coming. They were explaining before that so many times they thought they could get there. It never happened, just never happened.
A truly historic day, and, you know, under this president's leadership, this historic peace deal has been truly made into reality. When people actually go back and look at the history, you hit the high points there. These two countries have been in some form of conflict, sometimes very bloody, other times a very tense situation where conflict could spark out again at any moment for over 35 years. So for this event to happen today again, President Trump said in some of his remarks today that his aspiration, his greatest aspiration as president, is to bring about peace and stability. This is yet another example of his effective leadership that brought these two leaders together in a way that hasn't happened before. And I can tell you there was a lot of work that led to this moment. This wasn't something that just happened overnight. Again, when you look at over 35 years of conflict, under President Trump's leadership, he encouraged and helped move along this ongoing negotiation between these two leaders and their countries that led to this truly historic and great event.
That's 35 years of hostility over. Signed in D.C. with the United States now controlling the brand new trip corridor, the strategic lifeline for pipelines, rail, and communications that cuts Russia right out of the picture. That's not just peace, that's power. And the Prime Minister of Azerbaijan says he deserves more than applause.
Can I have a suggestion?
Yes.
So maybe we agree with Prime Minister Pashinyan to send a joint appeal to Nobel Committee to award President Trump with the Nobel Peace Prize, because from the leaders of the countries which were at war for more than 3 decades, having this historic signature here, it really means a lot. This is tangible result of President Trump's leadership, and no one could have achieved that. So who, if not President Trump, deserves the Nobel?
Obama got one for speeches. Trump got 11 signed peace deals in 6 months. If the Nobel Peace Prize is really about peace, this should be a shoo-in for Trump. But in our current political climate, they'll pretend like it never happened. And speaking of pretending, MSNBC had their own spin ready.
We've seen polling that shows that the president's policies around the globe have not been so popular here at home. 41% approve, while 54% disapprove of his handling of all of these different conflicts. So what should we take away from that data, and what would it take for Americans to come around to his approach?
I think people on both sides of the aisle don't want war, and they want to see a projection of American strength and values. So it's okay for us to say that, you know, there's universal or near universal support for some of these end goals, i.e. an end to bloodshed in Eastern Europe. But what I think the American people are seeing extraordinarily clearly right now is that Trump is all talk, all bluster. And beyond that, what's particularly alarming is that he also appears to be very erratic, saying, I'm going to do a meeting with Putin next week, but the deadline was this week. It seems to be everywhere, littered with some tariffs as well, and that would never have a majority of Americans.
I think, though, that there should be credit where credit is due for some of the smaller deals that I guess you could consider them smaller, not to the people who are living through them, but Armenia and Azerbaijan, India and Pakistan. Will that resonate with Americans? I know that we're still looking at those two conflicts in Ukraine and in Gaza at the forefront here. Yeah,
look, I think we all know which conflicts are at the forefront here, and that is principally, ensuring long-term peace and security for Israel, the return of the hostages, the end of any type of humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, as well as the end to the conflict in Ukraine. But what's particularly important there is the American people, and this is certified by the data, they don't just want to see an end to the conflict in Ukraine, they want to see the long-term peace and security of the Ukrainian nation upheld, which means that the American people do not support Trump going to Putin, taking a knee, and giving him whatever he wants. That will not result in higher approval ratings.
They'll talk about approval ratings before they'll talk about a 35-year conflict ending. The polls said Trump couldn't win in 2016. Polls also said that peace between Iran and Israel was impossible. Now look at the scoreboard, 11-0. But while history was happening in Washington, tragedy struck Georgia.
Breaking news out of Atlanta, Georgia, where Emory University is reporting an active shooter on its campus. Moments ago, the university's Office of Critical Event Preparedness and Response sending out an alert to students that read, "Run, hide, fight, avoid the area." A shelter-in-place order has been put in place. The Atlanta Police Department is currently responding to the scene, and you can see that scene there. Intense police presence. Sources are now telling ABC News local police encountered what they believe was an armed suspect and attempted to engage that person. A wounded officer has been taken to Emory University Hospital. That is what we are learning at this moment.
This was the worst kind of story. A man so convinced that the vaccine had him sick that he picked up a rifle and targeted the CDC. One officer charged in to protect others and paid with his life. That's courage, people. And now we know more about the shooter's motive.
Reporting from John Miller. I'm going to read this to make sure I get it correct. The law enforcement official tells John Miller that after speaking with family members, police are operating under the theory that the shooter either was sick or believed that he was sick and blamed the illness on the COVID vaccine. So you understand why he may have been targeting the CDC. That's information that we're getting. And we've also been told that people around that area believe they saw that gun being pointed toward that building. That goes along with the reporting that we had earlier. And of course, I told you about sources telling me we needed to be here around 4:50 because they believed someone was trying to attack the CDC. This person, of course, according to the folks who were outside the CVS, was standing there with what looked like a long rifle, dressed in black, firing toward that building. We have that video that you played at the top of this show where you can hear shot after shot, people saying they heard as many as 30 shots. We believe at that point, an officer, a DeKalb County police officer, engaged with the shooter. That officer was shot. We know the suspect was taken down and killed.
That's not speculation. That's the confirmed working theory from police. And it shows just how far gone this guy was mentally. Believing the vaccine made you sick is one thing, but deciding that the solution is a mass shooting is pure evil. We can debate policy all day, but we can agree this was wrong, period. And while Georgia was reeling from this attack, Gavin Newsom was in Texas, stirring up a different kind of fight.
Had it not been for the courage of the Democratic representatives from Texas to stand tall and to stand up, to walk out, as is their right, as old a principle as American pie, the ability for a minority to walk out when it comes to the abuses of a majority.
Courage? No, this isn't courage. This is skipping the work that you're paid to do. Holding a press conference in another state with Gavin Newsom isn't governing, it's campaigning. And then Newsom went on the attack.
He's dialing up for seats. He called Greg Abbott, who doesn't have the courage, doesn't have the backbone, doesn't have the consciousness of the consequences of his action. And he has rolled over and he said, yes, sir, and they're trying to dial now for new seats for precisely the reason that Speaker Pelosi and others have represented. They will lose in the midterms. He knows it. Why else would he make that phone call? His agenda is failing. This presidency is failing. He knows the headwinds in a midterm.
This is about setting up for 2028. But here's the hypocrisy. Democrats have played mid-decade redistricting for decades. And when Texas does it, it's cheating. Mark my words, California and New York will answer with their own redraws. This is the political arm race in real time. The bottom line is Trump's peace deals are stacking up, and the media can't ignore them anymore. Georgia lost a hero in a senseless act tied to pandemic fallout, and Gavin Newsom is proving some politicians care more about the camera than they do about solutions. Let me know what you think in the comments. Does Trump's record-breaking streak of peace deals deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? Should fleeing lawmakers face real consequences for skipping votes? And how should the U.S. handle politically motivated attacks like the CDC shooting? If this briefing has brought you value, you know what I need you to do, people. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and ring that bell, and share this with somebody who needs to see it. Much love, people. God bless.